The United States Department of Justice has just released over 3 million pages from Jeffrey Epstein's files. Names of presidents, billionaires, and powerful figures appear in these documents. But something disturbing is happening. Half of the files have been withheld. Shocking allegations surfaced and then disappeared from the official website. And I'm going to tell you all the details in this video. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. We need to understand exactly what happened today. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche announced the release of 3.5 million pages of documents related to the Epstein case, including 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. It sounds impressive until you discover that the Department of Justice itself admitted to having collected 6 million pages. Half of the files remain hidden. The Epstein Files Transparency Act was passed by Congress in November 2025 with bipartisan voting of 427-1 in the House and unanimity in the Senate. Donald Trump signed the law, and the deadline for complete disclosure was December 19, 2025. We are now on January 30, 2026. The government is in direct violation of the law that the president himself signed. Todd Blanche stated that the Department of Justice fulfilled its legal obligations. But Democrats and Republicans who sponsored the law disagree. Congressman Ro Khanna, Democrat from California, and Thomas Massie, Republican from Kentucky, sent a formal letter demanding access to the unredacted files. Senator Chuck Schumer accused Attorney General Pam Bondi of constantly changing the numbers and questioned, "Where are the other 3 million pages?" Blanche justified the withholding, citing abuse material, medical records, and victim protection. These are legitimate justifications, but the law itself provided for these exceptions and still required disclosure of the remainder. The problem is that we don't have transparency about what exactly is being withheld beyond these protected categories. There's also the issue of excessive redactions. Documents released in December showed entire pages blacked out. An 82-page document on Epstein's psychological evaluation had 81 pages completely redacted. Another 7-page document was totally blacked out and then removed from the website. This isn't transparency. This is a performance of transparency. And here's the most concerning detail. Files that mentioned allegations against Donald Trump briefly appeared on the DOJ's official website and were removed. They came back later, but the message was clear. We're dealing with a political process, not just a legal one. Let's talk about what's actually contained in these files. The documents include hundreds of FBI reports known as 302s, which are interviews with victims and witnesses. These witnesses described years of systematic abuse. One victim reported to the FBI in 2021 that she was approached at age 17 outside a dance studio in New York. The encounters began as fitness sessions, then massages, then abuse that continued for years. Epstein paid her and tried to control her career while encouraging her to bring friends. Other documents identify Jean-Luc Brunel, a French modeling agent and close associate of Epstein who died in 2022, as an intermediary who recruited young girls through modeling agencies. Victims described fear and intimidation that continued even after they left the circle of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The files also reveal the extent of Epstein's network. Emails show correspondence with figures like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and former White House advisors. In November 2012, Musk wrote to Epstein asking which day would be the wildest party on his island. Musk said in 2019 that he repeatedly declined to visit the island, but the emails suggest initial enthusiasm. There's a draft email where Epstein accuses Bill Gates of having sexual relations with Russian women that resulted in a sexually transmitted infection. Epstein claims that Gates asked for antibiotics to secretly give to his wife, Melinda. These are unverified allegations from a convicted criminal, but they're in the government's official files. Text messages show Epstein inviting filmmaker Woody Allen for a visit to the museum and the White House. Allen responded, "With my criminal record, I'm never going to pass security." Allen was never charged with crimes, but the reference is revealing about Epstein's social circle. And there are constant mentions of Donald Trump. A prosecutor wrote in 2020 that flight records revealed that Trump flew on Epstein's private jet far more times than was publicly known. A 2012 message asks about going to Mar-a-Lago after Christmas instead of Epstein's island. Trump publicly admitted he was friends with Epstein for years. but said they broke off relations around 2004. Here's where the situation becomes politically explosive. Among the files released today was a spreadsheet from the FBI's National Threat Operations Center containing unverified tips involving Trump. These tips were extremely serious and included allegations of trafficking and abuse. The document appeared on the DOJ website in the morning and was removed. Then it came back. Todd Blanche repeatedly insisted that the Department of Justice did not protect Trump. "We did not protect or fail to protect anyone," he said. But actions contradict words. Why would an official document be temporarily removed? Blanche said there was no White House oversight of the released material, but this is impossible to verify. Democrats in Congress are demanding answers. Chuck Schumer specifically asked whether all relevant documents about Trump were released. Ro Khanna questioned why 3 million pages are being withheld when the law required complete disclosure. Julie Johnson, Democrat from Texas, called the gradual release a cover-up. Attorney General Pam Bondi promised in February 2025 that a list of Epstein's clients was on her desk waiting to be reviewed and released. Months later, Blanche confirmed that no such list exists. Bondi distributed Epstein folders to MAGA influencers that contained only information already public. It was political theater. Trump promised during the 2024 campaign to declassify the Epstein files as part of his message that the government was hiding the truth from Americans. Once in office, he fought against congressional efforts to release these same files. The Transparency Act only passed because it had overwhelming bipartisan support that would make a veto politically impossible. Ghislaine Maxwell, serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking of minors, filed a petition mentioning 4 potential co-conspirators and 25 men who allegedly reached secret settlements related to Epstein's abuse, but were never indicted. Blanche said he was not aware of such agreements after reviewing all the documentation. Epstein survivors are saying this is not real transparency. Haley Robson, one of the victims, stated transparency would be putting all the cards on the table, and that's certainly not what this administration has done. The truth about Jeffrey Epstein and his network of abuse is still being partially concealed. If you believe the public has a right to know who facilitated and benefited from this system of exploitation, leave your comment below. What questions do you still have about this case? Why does half of the files remain hidden? If this content was useful, click like and subscribe to the channel for serious analysis of the events shaping our politics. The truth deserves to be defended, even when it's inconvenient for the powerful.